The first thing I noticed when I got home was the silence. Not the normal quiet after a long day at work. This was different. Heavy. Wrong. Jessica's suitcases were gone. They used to sit by the closet because she was always planning our next trip. A weekend in Napa. A beach week in Florida. Something to look forward to. Now there was just empty space where they had been. I stood there for a full minute, staring at the blank wall like maybe I was mistaken. "Jess?" I called out. No answer. I walked through the apartment slowly. The bathroom counter was clear. Her makeup bag was gone. The drawer where she kept her hair ties was empty. The closet had open gaps between my shirts where her dresses used to hang. That was when I knew. On the kitchen table, there was a single piece of notebook paper. 7 sentences. 5 years together reduced to 7 sentences. She met someone at yoga. He was fun. He made her laugh. He wasn't always tired from work. She hoped I would understand. She had already taken her things. She was sorry. My name is Daniel Harper, and that Tuesday in March destroyed me. I called in sick the next day. I couldn't face the office. I couldn't handle the looks or the questions. I didn't trust my voice not to break. By Thursday morning, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Emails stacked up. My team lead asked about quarterly reports. Then there was a message from Victoria Chun, our CEO, asking if I could join a client call. I had to go in. Vertex Technologies filled 3 floors of a glass building in downtown Chicago. I had worked there 6 years. I started right out of college as a junior project manager. I worked my way up. Now I was head of product development. I managed 12 people, building complex software for manufacturing plants. It was the kind of job people didn't walk away from. Victoria Chun founded Vertex 8 years ago. She left a big tech company to start her own. Now we had 400 employees and clients all over the world. She was brilliant and intense. She remembered everything. If you said something in a meeting 6 months ago, she would bring it up when it mattered. People respected her. Some feared her. 2 years ago, when I got promoted, I started working directly with her almost every day. Long meetings in her office, planning sessions that stretched into evening. She always ordered tea from the cafe downstairs. Somehow she remembered I liked honey and lemon, even though I mentioned it once. She had a way of laughing at my stupid jokes like they were actually funny. And sometimes, late on Fridays when the office was almost empty, she would talk about things beyond work. Her parents moved from Taiwan to San Francisco with almost nothing. They opened a small restaurant and worked every day for 20 years. She said watching them taught her that success meant showing up even when you were exhausted. I told her about my dream of photographing national parks one day. About the old Canon camera I found at an estate sale and was slowly restoring. About how working with my hands made my mind feel quiet. Those conversations did something to me. They made Mondays easier. They made me stay late on Thursdays hoping she might stop by. But she was my boss, and I was engaged, so I pushed those feelings down where they couldn't cause trouble. The Thursday after Jessica left, I walked into the office expecting whispers. Instead, everything was normal. The coffee machine was broken. Someone argued about printer paper. My team asked about reports. An hour later, Victoria's assistant told me she wanted to see me. My stomach dropped. I walked into her office on the top floor. The city skyline stretched behind her through giant windows. She looked up at me, and her expression wasn't angry. It was concerned. "Close the door," she said softly. I did. "I heard about Jessica," she said. My throat tightened. I didn't ask how she knew. "I'm really sorry, Daniel." She adjusted my schedule that day. Let me work from home 4 days a week. Extended deadlines. Told me to take time if I needed it. Victoria Chun had once made an entire team work through a holiday weekend to meet a deadline, yet here she was, giving me space without hesitation. She even handed me a business card for a therapist. "You're important to this company," she said. Then after a pause, "And you're important as a person." That arrangement saved me. Working from home gave me room to fall apart privately. Some days I barely worked. I just stared at walls and tried to understand how 5 years could disappear in 7 sentences. Victoria started checking in. At first it was about projects. Then it became personal. "Did you eat today?" "Get outside for a bit." One night around midnight, she called because she saw I was online. We talked about a presentation, then we talked about my camera. That call lasted 2 hours. After that, she called 3 or 4 nights a week. We talked about everything. Her childhood in her parents' restaurant, feeling like she didn't belong in tech school, my dream road trip through national parks, the kind of life we thought we might have if we were braver. Those calls became the best part of my week. I would watch the clock hit 11 and hope my phone would ring. When her name appeared on my screen, I would smile without thinking. Then I would lie awake afterward, replaying every word. But I kept reminding myself, she's your boss. She's being kind. It doesn't mean anything. 5 months passed. I started feeling stronger. I went back to the office more often. I picked up my camera again on weekends. Then Vertex announced we were buying our biggest competitor. Victoria stood in the conference room and told us this would double the company. Then she looked straight at me. Daniel Harper will lead the technology integration team. My stomach dropped. The work was massive, merging 2 completely different systems, coordinating teams across time zones, endless meetings, endless pressure. I started working 15-hour days, then 16. I stopped answering Victoria's late-night calls because I was too exhausted. My apartment turned into a mess, takeout containers everywhere. My camera gathered dust. I started making mistakes, small ones at first, then bigger ones. One Wednesday morning, I had to lead a major presentation with executives from both companies. I had been awake until 5 a.m. fixing a system issue. When the meeting started, 20 faces stared at me through the screen. I opened my slides. Everything blurred. My words came out tangled. I forgot simple timelines. I answered questions wrong. My hands shook so badly I had to sit on them. When the call finally ended, I couldn't breathe properly. That night, lying in bed, I thought about Jessica's note, about how she said I was always tired, always working. I thought about my camera sitting untouched. I thought about Victoria's voice during those late-night calls. And I realized something. I was disappearing again. At 2 in the morning, I opened my laptop and wrote my resignation letter. It took an hour. Professional, grateful, honest. When I finished, I stared at it for a long time. Then I saved it. The next morning, I scheduled a meeting with Victoria. Tomorrow, I would choose myself. I walked into Victoria's office at 10 in the morning with my resignation letter in my hand, and my heart beating so loud I thought she could hear it. Her office was bright, sunlight pouring through the floor-to-ceiling windows. The city looked calm from up there. Organized, predictable. I was neither. "Daniel," she said, looking up from her laptop, "what's going on?" I didn't trust myself to speak right away. If I waited even a second longer, I might change my mind. So I stepped forward and placed the envelope on her desk. "My resignation," I said. The words felt unreal, like they belonged to someone braver than me. She didn't touch the envelope at first. She just stared at it. Then she looked at me. What happened? Her voice wasn't angry. It wasn't sharp. It was steady, but I heard something under it. Something careful. "This isn't about the company," I said. "And it's not about you." "Then what is it about?" "It's about me," I said, forcing myself to hold her gaze. "I'm exhausted. I'm making mistakes. I can't keep living like this." Silence filled the room. She stood slowly, walked around her desk so there was nothing between us. "We can fix the workload," she said. "I'll hire more people. We'll adjust deadlines. Tell me what you need." I shook my head. "I don't need fewer meetings. I need space. Real space." I lost myself in this job. I barely recognize who I am outside of it. Something shifted in her expression, not disappointment, not frustration, fear. "Is this because of the presentation?" she asked quietly. "It's because I don't like who I've become," I replied. "I need to figure out what I want. And I can't do that here." She finally picked up the envelope, held it like it weighed more than paper should. "You're one of the best leaders in this company," she said. "Losing you will hurt Vertex." Then she added, softer, "It will hurt me." My chest tightened. I wanted to say something brave, something that explained how much those late-night calls had meant to me. But I didn't. Because she was still my boss, and I was still her employee. "I'm grateful for everything," I said instead. "You gave me room when I needed it. You supported me. This isn't your fault." She looked at me for a long moment, really looked at me. There was something in her eyes, something that made my pulse jump. Then it was gone, replaced with the calm, professional CEO mask. "I understand," she said. "Your well-being comes first." That was it. No dramatic speech, no fight to keep me, no personal confession, just understanding. I walked out of her office feeling both relieved and strangely hollow. My last 2 weeks at Vertex felt like living in someone else's life. People stopped by my desk to say goodbye. My team organized a lunch. They gave me a gift card to a camera store. Marcus, the guy taking over my position, asked endless questions and took notes like his life depended on it. Victoria never came by. We were in the same meetings, but she treated me like any other departing executive. Polite, distant, professional. No private conversations, no late-night calls, nothing. On my final Friday, HR collected my badge and laptop. Karen from HR gave me a speech about how I would always be welcome back. Victoria was in meetings all day. I stood in the lobby holding a cardboard box with 6 years of my life inside it, a coffee mug, a framed team photo, a small plant. That was it. I stepped outside into the afternoon sun and felt nothing. No relief, no joy, just a strange emptiness. The first weekend without work felt wrong. I kept waking up early out of habit, reaching for a laptop that wasn't there, checking a phone that stayed quiet. I told myself I needed time, that this was normal. On Sunday, I finally picked up my camera again, loaded film carefully in my dark bedroom, walked through my neighborhood, and took pictures of small things. Light hitting brick buildings. A couple holding hands at the park. A dog chasing a ball. For the first time in months, my mind felt still. But at night, I thought about her. About the way she looked when I handed her that envelope. About the way she said it will hurt me. Monday morning came, and I had nowhere to be. No emails, no deadlines. I sat on the couch staring at the wall. This was what I wanted, wasn't it? Freedom. So why did it feel like I had left something unfinished? By Wednesday, my brother Tyler showed up at my apartment unannounced. "You look like a ghost," he said. "I'm fine." "You're not fine." He dragged me on a hike outside the city. We walked for hours. At the top of the trail, we sat on a rock overlooking a wide valley. "You regret quitting?" he asked. "No," I said honestly. "I regret how it ended." "With Jessica?" "With Victoria." He raised an eyebrow. "She was my boss," I said quickly, "but we talked, a lot. Late nights, about real stuff. Then I quit, and it just stopped." "You like her?" he asked. I didn't answer right away. "Yeah," I admitted. "I think I do, or did. I don't even know." "Then why didn't you say something?" "Because she was my boss, and because I just got my heart broken. And because life isn't that simple." Tyler nodded. "Maybe it is." I laughed. "It's not." That night, I ordered pizza and sat in sweatpants on my couch, scrolling through old messages. The last text from her was simple. "Don't forget the presentation tomorrow. You'll do great." I had replied with a thumbs up. That was our ending. The doorbell rang at 8:17. I assumed it was the pizza delivery guy and opened the door without thinking. Victoria Chun stood on my doorstep in the pouring rain. Her white blouse was soaked. Her hair hung loose around her shoulders, darker from the water. She looked nothing like the composed CEO who commanded boardrooms. She looked nervous. "You could leave the office," she said, her voice shaking slightly, but not me. For a second, I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. She was here, at my apartment, in the rain. I just stood there staring at her while rainwater dripped from her hair onto my doormat. Victoria Chun, the woman who ran a 400-person company without blinking, looked like she might turn around and run. "Can I come in?" she asked quietly. I stepped aside without thinking. She walked into my apartment, and I suddenly saw everything the way she must have seen it. A pizza box on the coffee table, laundry piled on a chair, camera parts spread across newspapers on the floor. "Sorry," I said. "I wasn't expecting anyone." She gave a small smile. "I can tell." She was still holding a folder tightly against her chest. Her knuckles were pale from gripping it. "You're soaked," I said. "Wait, I'll grab a towel." Quote. I hurried to the bathroom, grabbed the cleanest towel I could find, and handed it to her. Our fingers brushed, and my chest tightened. She dried her hair quickly, but her hands were shaking. "I've never done this before," she said. "Shown up at someone's home like this." "I'm not your employee anymore," I said. She met my eyes. "Exactly." She held out the folder. "I need you to read this." I took it, confused, and opened it. Inside was a detailed job proposal. Employee Wellness Director, remote position, flexible hours, full benefits, a generous salary. I blinked at the words. "You created a role?" I asked. "For you," she said. Then she shook her head. "For us. For everyone." I looked up at her. "Victoria, you could have emailed this." "I know. Then why are you here?" She took a slow breath like she was about to step off a cliff. "Because this isn't just about the job." The room felt smaller suddenly. "Daniel," she said softly, "those late-night calls we had, they were the best part of my day." My heart started pounding. "When you resigned," she continued, "I realized I was losing more than a project leader. I was losing someone who mattered to me. The air left my lungs. I tried to ignore it," she said. "I told myself it was inappropriate, that you had just gone through a breakup, that I was your boss, that I had responsibilities." "You did," I said quietly. "I still do," she replied, "but I also have feelings." The word hung between us. "I drove past your building twice tonight," she admitted. "I sat in my car for almost 40 minutes trying to decide if I was making a mistake. I felt something inside me crack open." "You're not," I said before I could stop myself. She looked at me like she needed to be sure. "When you handed me that resignation letter," she said, "I wanted to ask you to stay, not for Vertex, for me." My pulse was loud in my ears. "But I couldn't," she added. "You needed to leave. You needed to choose yourself. If I told you how I felt then, it would have complicated everything." "So you waited," I said. "Yes." My phone buzzed on the coffee table. Tyler's name lit up the screen. The sound broke the moment. Victoria stepped back like she had crossed a line. "I'm sorry," she said quickly. "I shouldn't have come." This was selfish. "No," I said firmly. I grabbed my phone and silenced it without answering. "Stay." She hesitated. "Why?" she asked. "Because when I opened that door and saw you standing there, it felt like I could breathe again." Her shoulders relaxed slightly. "I thought about you too," I admitted. After every call, I would lie awake replaying everything we said, but I told myself it was just stress, that it wasn't real. "And now?" she asked. "Now you're standing in my living room in the rain," I said. "That feels pretty real." She let out a nervous laugh. "I'm not good at this," she said. "I know how to run a company. I know how to negotiate contracts. I don't know how to do this." "You don't have to know," I said. "We can figure it out." I walked to the kitchen and filled the kettle. "Tea?" I asked. She smiled softly. "Honey and lemon?" I froze for a second. "You remembered." Quote. "I remember everything," she said gently. We stood close in my small kitchen while the water heated. It felt different now, not boss and employee. Just two people who had been circling something for months. She glanced at the camera parts on the table. "You're still fixing it." "Yeah," I said. "It reminds me that broken things aren't always ruined. Sometimes they just need patience." She looked at me carefully. "Do you feel broken?" I thought about Jessica's note, about the presentation, about the emptiness after quitting. "I felt lost," I said. "Not broken. Just lost." "And now?" I met her eyes, less lost. The kettle clicked off. I poured hot water into 2 mugs. Our fingers brushed again when I handed hers to her. Neither of us pulled away. "I was afraid," she said softly. "Of what?" "Of how much I care about you." My heart slammed against my ribs. "Victoria!" "I care about you," she repeated, "not as a colleague, not as a project lead. As a man who makes me laugh when I'm exhausted, who listens when I talk about my parents, who dreams about photographing national parks like the world is bigger than boardrooms." I set my mug down. I care about you too, I said. The words felt terrifying and freeing at the same time. I just didn't think it was possible. It wasn't, she said. Not why you worked for me. And now? She stepped closer. Now it might be. The rain outside grew heavier, tapping against the windows. Dinner tomorrow, she said. No business, no titles, just us. I smiled. That sounds like a date. She smiled back, and for the first time since I had known her, she looked completely unguarded. It is, she said. I don't know who leaned in first. Maybe both of us. Our kiss was soft and brief, just a brush of lips, but it felt like a promise we had both been holding back for months. When we pulled apart, her forehead rested lightly against mine. This is terrifying, she whispered. Yeah, I said, but so was quitting my job. She laughed quietly. Tomorrow, she said, 7 o'clock, I'll pick you up. I'll be ready. She walked to the door, then paused. Thank you, she said. For what? For choosing yourself first. After she left, I stood at the window and watched her walk to her car in the rain. She looked up and caught me staring. She waved. I waved back. For the first time in months, I didn't feel empty. I felt hopeful. I didn't know what this would become, but I knew one thing. I was done running from what I felt. The next evening, I stood in front of my closet for almost 20 minutes. It felt ridiculous. I had led billion-dollar integration meetings without breaking a sweat, but choosing a shirt for dinner with Victoria Chun felt impossible. At 6:58, headlights flashed through my window. My stomach flipped. I walked outside, and there she was, leaning against her car like she had done this 100 times before. But when she saw me, I caught that same nervous energy from the night before. You clean up well, she said. You've never seen me not in office clothes, I replied. She smiled. True. Dinner was at a small Italian restaurant on the edge of the city. Not fancy, not flashy, quiet, warm lighting, the kind of place where no one cared who you were. For the first time, she wasn't Victoria the CEO, she was just Victoria. We talked about everything except work. She told me about the first computer she ever owned, bought with money she saved from working in her parents' restaurant. I told her about the first photo I ever developed in a darkroom, and how it felt like magic watching an image slowly appear on paper. She laughed more than I had ever seen her laugh, and I realized something. I wasn't attracted to the title. Or the power. I was attracted to the woman sitting across from me, stirring her pasta, and looking at me like I was the only person in the room. Halfway through dinner, she grew quiet. What? I asked. I'm thinking, she said, about how complicated this could get. I nodded. Yeah. People will talk, she said. The board might question it. Employees might assume you left because of me. I left because I was drowning, I said calmly. You didn't push me out. If anything, you tried to help. She studied my face, like she needed to be sure. I don't want to be the reason you regret quitting, she said. You're not, I replied. Leaving saved me. You showing up at my door reminded me I'm still alive. Her expression softened. Then there's the job proposal, she added. If you take it, I don't want you to feel like you owe me anything. I won't, I said. If I accept, it'll be because I believe in it. I meant that. The role she created wasn't a favor. It was necessary. I had lived burnout. I understood what it did to people. I don't want to rush this, she said quietly. I don't want it to be a rebound or an escape. It's not, I said. Jessica leaving broke something in me, but it also forced me to look at my life. The feelings I have for you didn't start after she left. They started long before. Her eyes searched mine. I felt it too, she admitted, but I buried it. Why? Because I built my life on control, she said, and you felt like something I couldn't control. I smiled. Good. She laughed softly. After dinner, we walked outside. The night air was cool. The city lights reflected off the lake in the distance. She slipped her hand into mine. It felt natural. No boardroom, no deadlines, no titles, just us. I need to be honest about something, she said as we reached her car. Okay. If this becomes real, if we try this, I won't do it halfway. I don't date casually. I don't play games. Good, I said. Neither do I. She exhaled slowly, like she had been holding that in. Over the next few weeks, we took it slow. Coffee dates. Long walks. Movie nights at my apartment where we ordered takeout and argued about which film was better. We talked about expectations, about boundaries, about how to handle the public side of things, if I accepted the wellness role. And during that time, something steady began to grow. Not the rush of secret late-night calls, not the tension of forbidden feelings. Something calmer, stronger. I eventually accepted the job. Not because she created it for me, but because I believed in it. We announced it carefully, transparent, professional. Clear that I had resigned before anything began. There were whispers, of course. There always are. But the work spoke for itself. Within months, we launched mental health programs, mandatory unplugged weekends, access to real counseling resources, managers trained to recognize burnout before it destroyed people. I watched employees breathe easier. I watched teams become healthier. And every night, I went home not exhausted, but fulfilled. One evening, about 6 months after that rainy night at my door, Victoria and I stood on a cliff in Yosemite. I had finally taken that national park trip. She surprised me with it. "Happy 6 months of terrifying bravery," she said. The sun was setting over the valley. Orange lights spilling across the mountains. I lifted my camera and captured the moment. Then I lowered it and looked at her. "You know," I said, "if Jessica hadn't left, none of this would have happened." She squeezed my hand. Sometimes the worst days open the best doors. I thought back to that Tuesday in March, the empty closet, the 7 sentences. I had believed my life was falling apart. I didn't know it was rearranging itself. "You could leave the office," she had said that night in the rain. But not me. Standing there with her, wind brushing against us, I understood what she meant. I left the job that was breaking me, but I didn't leave the connection that saved me. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't choosing work. I was choosing love.